Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. I hope that you're able to come to your mat and do some practice and just feel better, feel into yourself in a really sweet way. So I want to read a poem to you. This is a Mary Oliver poem called Mindful. Every day I see or I hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that leaves me like a needle in the haystack of light. It is what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the very drab, the daily presentations. O good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world, the ocean's shine, the prayers that are made out of grass. Such beauty surrounds us all the time, everywhere. So if you'll bring your hands to prayer position, close your eyes and feel free to hold an intention for yourself today. Looking at the beautiful prayers that exist in every minute, mundane detail of our lives through a fresh lens with appreciation and a complete sense of presence. So before we begin, I'm going to chant the Gayatri Mantra through just once. If you want to chant with me, this is the melody that you've probably heard a number of times, especially if you came to the solstice gathering. Om Bhur-Bhuvah Swaha Tat Savitur-Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Feel free to hold an intention specifically for yourself, for another person, a region of the world. And when you're ready, let your eyes open. Namaste. Thanks for coming. All right, so let's begin on our hands and knees, and we'll start with some cat and cow. So settling into the position, we're going to move nice and slow. So as you inhale, just lift your gaze, look gently forward, let your middle back soften. And as you exhale, press your hands down into the floor, hug your knees towards your midline, pull your lower belly in and up. Inhaling forward. Exhaling to round. Just take yourself back and forth through your own rhythm, a few cycles. One more round. And back to a neutral table position. Walk your hands forward, come up onto your fingertips, move your sit bones back, and sit back in a puppy pose. So keeping a little bit of a lift up through the undersides of the armpits and softening down through the heart. So try to be a little bit more mindful of utilizing the breath in this practice today so we can really move some energy through in the places where it may get stuck. So as you inhale, lifting up through the upper back. And as you exhale, softening down through your heart, reaching back through your sitting bones. Next inhale, lift up about halfway. Walk both hands over to your left. Stay up on the fingertips and sit back. Inhale and lift up. Walk your hands through center. Take your hands over to the right. And sit back. And inhale and lift up. Come back to table position. Curl your toes under. Come on up to a downward facing dog. So arms strong, knees bent, but just letting your body move in whatever way it feels really good to do that. Feel free to move the hips from side to side. All right, so let's lift the right leg. Bend the knee, open up through the hip. Keep the arms strong, shoulders evenly lifted if possible. And on your exhale, swing your foot forward and through. Come on into a lunge. And just keep your hands on the floor on either side of the front ankle. So trying to come into about a 90-degree bend in the front leg. And breathing again, inhaling and lifting up, letting your back round. Pulling some breath into the back of the lungs and the kidneys. And exhaling. Soften down through the chest, but not necessarily through the back leg. And then go ahead and step back to down dog. Let's shift forward into a plank position. So pull your hands back isometrically, pull your toes forward and engage your lower belly. Breathing in and out through the nose. And then lower down to the floor. Let's just take a little cobra pose. And lower down. Press back to table. Sit back in puppy. Inhale up to table. Exhale back to downward facing dog. Next inhale, lift your left leg. Bend the knee, open up through the hip a little bit. Keeping the right side of the body long and keeping the shoulders lifted and strong. On your exhale, bring your foot forward, find your lunge, hands in line with your front ankle. Try to find about a 90-degree bend in your front leg. And again, we'll be here for a few breaths. So inhaling in, letting your back round a little bit. Then as you exhale, soften into your chest, but try to keep your back thigh lifted. And step back to down dog. Hopper step to the top of your mat. And come to your first standing forward fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway forward. Exhale, fold in. Oh, hello hamstrings. Feel free to keep your knees bent. And then sliding the hands up the shins to the knees, come to a nice skier's pose here. Pulling the abdomen in and up, and then take your arms out and forward. Keep the sitting bones back. So just be mindful of what's happening here. You don't want to have your pelvis coming forward, rounding into your low back. Bend your elbows out to the sides and tip your sternum up a little bit. So make it a little more back bendy. Waken up the legs. Pull the abdomen up now strongly. Pull the glutes up. Arms up and all the way up to standing. All right, and exhale and forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lengthen halfway forward, Ardha Uttanasana. And exhale and fold in. Bend your knees and step right to plank pose. So in this plank pose, we're going to tap the heart. So keep the left hand down, tap with the right. Right hand down, tap with the left. You get the idea. So use your core, keep your abdomen strong. So you're actually not moving your body too much. And back to your plank. And let's lower down. Cobra pose. Lowering back down, Shalabhasana. Bring your hands into a clasp behind you. Shrug your shoulder heads forward and lift up. And releasing hands to the mat. Press up to table. And sit back in a puppy. And press back up to table pose. Curl your toes under. Downward facing dog. All right, this time we're going to find our way into a crescent lunge. So lifting your right leg up behind you. Exhale, bring it forward. Find your lunge position with your legs. And go ahead and bring yourself up into your crescent lunge. So pulling in and up in the lower belly. Back leg strong and lifted. Hands to the floor. Plank pose. Lower to the floor. Cobra pose. Downward facing dog. Lifting your left leg. On your exhale, bring it forward into a crescent lunge. Find your footing. Make sure you have enough lateral distance between the feet and come on up. Pulling the belly in and up. Feeling into the position of the legs and just let yourself be here. Feel how strong you are. You've been practicing for a long while now, so your legs, you got some power in those legs. Work with that. And release, hands to the floor, plank pose. And lower to the floor. Cobra pose. Downward dog. Upper step, top of the mat. Forward fold. Bend your knees. Slide your hands up your shins to your knees and make it a skier's pose. Get a nice neutral spine for yourself. Inhale, arms straight out to the sides. Turn the palms up. Take the arms out in front. Take your left arm and turn to look to your left. Bring the left arm forward. Take your right arm and twist to look to the right. Try to keep your knees even, your hips even. No small feet there. And both arms out in front. Come all the way up to standing. Palms to your heart. And release your arms down. Okay, so now you can't really see all the way up and over my head, but we're going to do a little tipping side to side here. So inhale, arms up and overhead. Take a hold of your right wrist. Tip yourself over to your left. Inhale to center. Take a hold of your left wrist and tip yourself over to the right. And come on back to center. And release your arms. Take your feet fairly wide, hands into a clasp behind you. Lift the shoulder heads, roll them back, and then bend your knees. Move your sitting bones way back. Bow forward. Let your head release. Lifting the arms. Pressing back for the inner thighs. All right, and then bend your knees, release your hands to the floor, and then spin your heels in and turn your toes out to come to a goddess stance. So knees wide. Pull the abdomen in and up, take your arms out to the sides, and take your arms up and over your head. There we go. Hands to prayer position in front of your heart. Come all the way up to standing, star pose. Bring the feet to parallel and step back into a hip distance width. All right, so come on back up to the top of your mat and let's continue. So check in with how you're feeling at this point in your practice and bring yourself back to your own intention as you're moving today. Keeping in mind Mary Oliver's poem reminding us to be very, very present to the teachers that show up in every single moment. All right, release your arms. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lengthen halfway forward, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold in, bend your knees, plant your hands, plank pose. Lower to the floor. Cobra pose. Downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right leg up behind you. Exhale, bring your right foot forward into a lunge. We'll make it crescent lunge, so spin the left heel down, right elbow to the leg, top arm up alongside of the ear. So working with your breath. Glance down at your front knee, make sure it's over your ankle. Now bring your left hand to your hip and slide your right hand to the floor inside of your foot. Press your arm against your inner leg and then take your left arm back up into a wingspan. Now can you stay essentially in this position but take your hand outside of your foot instead of inside your foot, and then press your leg back against your arm. So see if you can open this pose up a little bit. Keep that nice bit of pressure between the arm and the leg. Then spin the hands down to the floor. Pick up your back heel and we'll start to straighten the right leg. Lift up your outer right hip crease and draw it back. Coming into a long Parsvottanasana, back heel lifted. Take your weight onto your left hand. Take your right arm up and twist the other way. All right, both hands to the floor inside of your front foot. Bend into your right leg and spin your feet to parallel. And then spin your feet 90 degrees back the other way to find a lunge position. And spin your right heel to the floor to come to side angle stretch with the left elbow on the thigh. Turn your chest forward, top arm up alongside of the ear. So pull the shoulder heads back, pull the abdomen in and up, find some strength in the legs. And right hand to the hip. Take your left hand to the floor inside of the foot. If you need a block, please feel free to grab one or a book or anything you got. And then you're going to take your right arm straight up into a wingspan, pressing the arm back against the leg, pulling the outer left hip crease back, pulling the abdomen in and up, opening up through the chest. Now can you keep your legs in this position? Just move your arm around so that the hand comes outside of the ankle, pressing the leg back against the arm. And spin your hands down to the floor, pick up your back heel, come back to a lunge position, and we'll start to straighten the left leg. So lift the hips, pull the outer left hip crease back, you're up on the ball of the back foot. So try to keep your spine as long as you can as you're coming forward toward this front leg. And maybe you exhale and come a little further forward. And then inhale and lift up. Take all the weight onto the right hand and then take your left arm up and twist the opposite direction. Keeping the sides of the body long, hip creases drawing back. All right, and both hands to the floor inside the front foot. Bend back into your left leg. Spin your feet to parallel. All right, so now we're gonna go kind of into a half squat to the right. So turning your foot open about 45 degrees, bend into your right leg. Take the right hand, again, it can be on a block if you like, but to the arch of the foot, and then use your arm to keep your knee moving in the same direction as your toes as you shift over and pick up your left toes. So feel free to keep your hands on the floor if they're really what's holding you up. If you feel pretty comfortable in this position, push down into the floor with your foot and your heel, and maybe your hands can come up to your heart. And hands to the floor. Lift your hips. We'll go to the other side. So turn your left toes open, bending into the leg. Left hand comes right to the arch of the foot. Bend the leg and use your arm to keep your knee looking the same direction as your toes as you shift your weight over and pick up your right toes. Pull your abdomen in and up, and again, if it feels like it's doable, hands can come to prayer position. Keep your abs strong, keep your glutes strong, keep your legs strong. And hands to the floor, lift yourself up. Come back to a nice wide-legged forward fold and bow. And lifting up. We'll spin back to the other side. So bend your right leg and spin both feet 90 degrees, coming back to a lunge position, and then step back to down dog. Step to the top of the mat. Inhale, lengthen halfway forward. Exhale, fold in. Bend your knees again, slide your hands up your shins to your knees, and come back to a nice little skier's position here. So we're going to make this a prayer twist. Hands to prayer position. Take your right elbow and hook it outside of your left leg. Slide the hands back a little bit. Do your best to keep your knees nice and even. And release hands to the floor, straighten the legs to whatever extent works best for you. And then bending your knees, other side, hands to prayer. Hook your left elbow outside of the right leg. Pulling the hands back toward the hip, keeping the knees nice and even.
Ujjayi breath. Hands to the floor. Step back to downward facing dog. Give your legs a little bit of a respite. Get some length for your spine. Shifting forward into plank pose. We're going to find our way to Vashisthasana. So take the right hand slightly forward and out to the right. Roll to the outer edge of the right foot. You can either stack your feet or stagger your feet, or the front leg can come up into a lunge position. So whatever feels the best for you, all good. And then the arm goes up. So really strong. Maybe you lift the top leg. Maybe you bring the top leg into tree. Woo. All right, and then both hands down. Right to the second side, left hand slightly forward and out to the left. Roll to the edge of the foot, or lunge position with the legs, whatever you're doing. Find your way up. Vashisthasana. Strong core position. All right, and both hands down. Back to plank and lower to the floor. All right, right arm out in front. Left arm alongside of you. Lift your left leg. Right arm, lift your chest and extend in both directions. Now can you bend the back leg and find your way into a half bow? So press your foot back against your hand, lift yourself up, and breathe. If it doesn't happen, just keep the leg extended. And release, and have a rest. Other side. Left arm out, right arm alongside of you. Lift the left leg, right leg rather. Lift your chest, lift your arms, extend. And then bending the leg, can you take a hold of the foot or the ankle to bring yourself into a half bow position? And release. And have a rest. Hands alongside of the chest, press the table, and come on up to down dog. All right, we're going to come into triangle pose, lifting the right leg. Exhale, bring it forward into a lunge position. Spin your back heel down. If you need a block, feel free to grab one for yourself, whatever it is that you have that you can use. Otherwise, your hand could come to your ankle, your shin, wherever you like to practice your triangle pose. Open up, top arm up, Trikonasana. Top arm alongside of the ear if possible. Pull your feet in toward one another, pull your belly in and up. Can your bottom arm come up? Bottom hand down, top arm back up. Bring your hand to your hip. Look down at the floor. We're going to make a transition to half moon pose. So shifting forward, balancing on the right leg, lift the left. Take the arm up. Working with your breath as you balance. If you have Ardha Chandra Chakrasana, feel free to take a hold of your foot. Press your foot back against your hand, roll your shoulder back, looking up and breathing. And then we'll release. Bend into the front leg, set your back foot down. Spin your feet to parallel. We're going to go directly to triangle pose on the other side. So turn the left foot open, turn your right foot in. Find the positioning for your left hand, whether it's on the block or your shin, and then open up your pose. Trikonasana. Pull up in the abdomen, pull back in the left hip crease. Top arm alongside of the ear if possible. And then pull the feet in toward one another, pull the belly up, and see if the arms can come up and hold an imaginary ball. And bottom hand down, and top arm up. All right, and top hand to the hip, look down at the floor. We'll make our transition forward to come to half moon on the left. So go ahead and shift forward, come to balance on your left foot. And open up your pose. It's amazing how much it helps to keep the periphery active, so spreading the toes and the fingers strong. Bending the leg if you have Ardha Chandra Chakasana in your practice. Take a hold of the foot, press your foot back against your hand, roll your shoulder back. Can the shoulder move back far enough so that your head can turn and look up without any detriment to the neck? All right, and then we'll release. Step back. And find your way to a downward facing dog. Always a nice place to be after all that. And set your knees down. All right, we're going to find our way up into a camel position now. So curl your toes under, pull your knees in towards your midline, lift your belly. Lift your shoulders up and roll them back. You can take your hands back so that your hands are resting on the heels, sides of the neck slide back, lift up through the chest. And let your head go. And coming up slowly. Hands down to the floor. Sit back in a little puppy pose. And back to table pose. So feel free at any time, if you really want to go to the wall and do some work with inversions, I invite you to pause the video. Feel free to go over and try a little handstand or box pose or forearm balance, anything that you might be working on if you have space to do that at home. I'm going to move ahead in the practice here and go right into working with pigeon pose a little bit. So coming to downward facing dog. Lifting the right leg, bring your right knee forward, back knee down on the floor. So the position of your front foot as it is, you can either point the foot, flex the foot, just make sure your foot's not sickled and limp. You want to have your foot pretty active. Go ahead and come forward. All right, starting to find your way out of your pigeon prep. We'll walk the hands in, bend your back leg, see if you can take a hold of the foot. So coming into a thigh stretch, pull your front knee back and your back knee forward, pull your abdomen in and up, and see if you can bring the heel a little closer to your outer hip. Maybe the other arm can come up, maybe you can make it into a mermaid pose. If you need to have the hand on the floor to keep yourself from falling over, that's perfectly fine. Okay. Step back to down dog in between sides. Okay. Let's lift the left leg. Bring the left knee forward to come into your pigeon prep. Back knee down. Just check out your back leg and make sure that your leg is somewhat parallel to the mat so it's not kind of going off with a mind of its own. And come down and have a rest in your pigeon prep. Still working with the breath, still keeping muscular energy present in the pose. Now walk your hands back in towards yourself. We'll come into our thigh stretch, so bending the back leg. Before I do that, if you just can't reach for that back foot and you don't have a strap handy, you can always point the back foot, press the top of the foot on the floor, and as you pull your back knee forward isometrically and your front knee back, you can walk your hands back. And the more vertical you get, the deeper stretch you'll get. You know, you can make it a little bit more of a back bend to stretch that back thigh, but keep this muscular energy really hugging in as you lift up in the belly. It's really the key, all right? Otherwise, you'll grab the foot, bring the foot in, pull the knees toward one another, front to back, bringing the right heel toward the outer hip, breathing into it. All right, let's release. Step back to downward dog. And set your knees down. All right, so we've already done a camel pose to kind of prepare ourselves for a little bit more back bending. So I'm going to take my mat and turn it this way. If you have the opportunity to do that at your home and you want to elevate the heels of your palms a little bit, then you can take a blanket like we do in class and press it right up against the baseboard. So you've got a little bit of support there. If you don't need all of that, feel free to take your Urdhva Dhanurasana. If you'd like to do that pose, you're also more than welcome to do a bridge pose. You can also do a bow pose if you prefer, so you can come down to your belly and try that. If you want to try Urdhva Dhanurasana, fingertips fairly wide on your mat, heels of the palms supported on the rolled blanket. And then from here, integrate the shoulders a little bit. Scoot the shoulders in and underneath you. Try to keep the elbows fairly close in. You're pulling in, even though it may not look that way, I'm really pulling in with my elbows. Press into your feet, lift your hips. Come to the top of the head and press up. Lower down when you're ready and take a rest. Be present with your breath. If you're feeling like a happy baby, it would be a great plan. Let me just change directions here. And coming onto your back, feel free to take your feet up in the air and just enjoy a little happy baby. After after the depth of the back bend. And release. All right, set your feet down. Just lengthen your legs all the way out and reach your arms and legs long in opposite directions. All right, so bending your knees, please roll to your side. Come on up to a seat. If you have a blanket, we're gonna practice shoulder stand. And you can do this if you're used to doing this without a blanket, you're more than welcome to. I like to have a blanket because I have a really long neck. And elevating my shoulders helps give me more space so that I don't flatten out the curve of my neck too much. So as you set yourself up for the pose, make sure that your shoulder heads are a little bit shy of the top of the blanket. And then from here, scoot the elbows in, shoulder blades in underneath you, and then just start to find your way up. So work your elbows in, keep your chin lifted as you come up into your shoulder stand. So working the elbows in as close as you can toward the middle really helps to get you up a little higher, and it gets your chest a little closer to your chin. This is where I'm comfortable right now. This is where my neck is comfortable. So I think I'm gonna just keep practice here, right? Feel free to do whatever feels great for your legs. And bring the feet to Baddha Konasana position. You can wrap the legs around in eagle position. All right, so just adventures in leg expressions. All right, and then from here, if you want to try plow pose. And it's up to you how long you want to stay there. And then when you're ready to release, just let yourself roll down. Come on up to a seat. So let's make ourselves comfortable for Shavasana. So if you want to put your blanket, you can roll it up and put it under your knees. Whatever feels really, really good to you. And if you would like, you could also sit. What a wonderful, wonderful preparation time to do a little bit of chanting and meditation. So we're going to chant the mantra Sa Ta Na Ma. Not necessarily all that long, but I'll get you started so that this is something that you want to continue to do for your practice at home. It's really spectacular. So you can work with thumb touching index, middle, ring, and pinky fingers for each of the syllables. So close your eyes, settle in. Settle into the truth of who you are. One syllable at a time. Sa Ta Na Ma. 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 Sa Ta Na Ma.
Satanam, Satanam, Satanam. Now whisper. Now silently. Feel free to continue or make yourself comfortable in your Shavasana. I send so much deep love and gratitude to all of my teachers and for the gifts of so many facets of this practice that are here to support us in these somewhat precarious times. So you all are so near and dear to my heart. I wish we're near and dear in proximity to one another, but we truly are. So thank you all for joining me and coming to your practice. Om Shanti. Namaste.